All right, welcome to round number 2. Our hand looks pretty reasonable. Blind. Obviously, we don't have a lot of early interaction, and we are on the draw, it appears. So if our opponent really comes out of the gate here, we could be in a little bit of trouble. Stomping Ground tapped. Not a blazingly fast start. So opponent could be a Valakut deck. Could be Dredge. If this is like a Farseek. Yeah, okay. So looks like a Valakut deck. In which case our land destruction plan is kind of our best bet. Not a great matchup for us overall. I'm going to try to cut my opponent off of green mana here. So let's start by hitting this Stomping Ground. Next turn I'll have the ability to hit the Cinder Glade, and I assume our Tectonic Edge will have a target as well. I should not have showed my opponent their Tectonic Edge though. Interestingly, with that Sakura Tribe Elder and playing the Valakut, I wonder if I'm still supposed to assault their green sources. I think I am. So let's hit this Cinder. Well, so the problem with that is that that's going to be a mistake. My opponent... I should Tech Edge this turn instead. The reason being... my opponent can fetch a basic forest with this. Also, I want to keep them off of 6 next turn for prime time. So yeah, we're just going to Tech Edge this turn. I guess in their upkeep. Well, now I'll do it end step after they select. So it's unfortunate that I'm not hitting my own land drops here, really making any progress, but I need to get to a point, I think, with this particular hand where my opponent's not really doing anything productive. It looks like, unfortunately, they're going to be able to continue hitting their land drops and producing green sources. At least they missed their land drop, though, I should say. So let's continue what we came here for, spreading seas, this basic forest. Let's see if we can find some ghost quarters or some other style of interaction here. All right, looks like we're just going to play another Colonnade and say go. Now, if our opponent stumbles again, we can slam something like Gideon of the Trials if we want to try and put pressure on, or we can slam Architect of Thought. Ghost Quarter is interesting, but it's possible that we could hit the green source and have them not have another green. The advantage of taking that line is that we also get to use our Gideon here. I guess let's start with this. I think I want to take that risk. Do you have another basic forest? Alright, looks like my opponent does not. So they just grab a mountain. It's good for us. So let's go ahead and slam this Gideon. If my opponent has Lightning Bolt, they could get me. There's some temptation to make the emblem that often seems like flavor text, but in this case could actually be relevant. Oh, my opponent's on Breach. So they actually get to Breach Primetime here. So after all that, we don't really get what we wanted here. Fortunately, we did get in their Valakut, though, so that helps. Unfortunately, though, they have unlocked their mana base quite a bit here. We're not really going to be able to assault that any further, so... yeah, we're in a lot of trouble now. It's kind of a bummer. We did what we could. Opponent has 4 cards, so they have a lot of threats left. I guess we hold up pretend counter spells that we don't have and path. We also have Think Twice, of course, which we can look for like a mana leak that wouldn't even sufficiently work, but This is going to resolve. All right. I guess I might as well cast this in response. Getting of the Trials. And we'll hit that. I'm sure they have more mountains. So that's not great for me. Gonna take a solid 9 for pathing that. I mean, I guess I should have just wrathed. I want to be mana efficient here, but that doesn't make any sense. I should have just wrathed. I mean, I'm imagining my opponent has another prime time, so it probably doesn't matter, but that doesn't make it any less of a mistake to do it the way that I did it. Anyway, in the meantime, how could we possibly not be dead? We can't, really. I guess I will Gideon, and I will target the guaranteed damage. That also requires them to shoot this twice to actually kill it. Not that it matters, because if they have a prime time, it's 1,000,000 damage. But if they don't have a prime time, okay, that's prime time. So we are quite dead. Quite dead indeed. Oh, they grabbed a Sakura Tribe Elder. I guess I should have let them continue, but I imagine I'm dead, even if they're grabbing that. That's 9 damage alone, and they just have to play a mountain, so... Either way, we are pretty dead. I needed my opponent to basically have literally blank cards, since all their lands were good, and all of their spells were good. So we're not really winning from there. Kind of turned the corner when our opponent was able to breach a Titan on that turn. We needed to... We were depending on cutting them off of green, and then it turned out they had breach, so... Okay, against a breach version of Valid Cut, we're definitely a little bit worse spot. I think we're going to want our Click and our Geist. I definitely want all of my interaction. I don't think I can bring in... I mean, Dispel hits Pact and Breach. It's still likely too narrow. I guess we can consider it, though. Verdicts are quite bad. Even though my opponent will likely be bringing in many additional threats, I still don't think I can justify it. If I'd rather even have Elspeth over that at the very least, since that'll hit a lot of my opponent's additional threats plus be a threat of its own. So I guess that's something we can consider. The rest of these I'm not very interested in any capacity. I need some number of paths to deal with prime times, but for the large, by and large, I just don't want them to resolve. So we want to focus on that element of our game first. Detention spheres are not great. Again, my opponent's likely siding in additional threats, and against those threats, detention sphere is pretty reasonable, considering they can be anything from, you know, Baloths to Chandras to what have you. So spheres may be good answers to those things, but again, I'd probably rather just focus on my counterspell plan and have those just not resolve. And not tapping out for things like this, especially on the play, makes that all the more likely. Along those lines, it's possible I want to shave on walls. Spreading Seas are obviously excellent. I think the land destruction plan is pretty good here, and that actually allows room for things like this. This Elspeth may not be outstanding, but I like being kind of threat dense, and it kind of hedges against some of the threats that I described that they might be bringing in as well as being another way to kill prime times or whatever. Obviously not a very good way, and again, if my opponent's resolving prime times, things are typically bad. It's also the most mana inefficient threat, so maybe it's just not good at all. Maybe I'd rather have another spot removal spell in Detention Sphere or cantrip in Wall, but I don't think so. I think this is what we're going to go with. All right. This hand is not outstanding, but if we do flood, we can cycle this away. We do have a scry to mitigate the flood as well. Spreading Seas is nice in the matchup, and Path is medium. Again, I'm a lot more scared of keeping hands that are light on lands than heavy. I think I'm going to keep, even though it looks a little weird, I'm going to go ahead and scry early to make sure I'm not hitting, or rather to try and stop myself from hitting additional lands. I'm certainly not guaranteed, but maybe a Chalice here. No, just in a turn 1 Sakura Tribe Elder. I think leaving up Mana Leak is going to be better than starting my assault on green mana. Especially considering... it's funny how that was basically a Gemstone Caverns, by the way. Does it mean Spirit Guide plus Sakura Tribe Elder? We'll go ahead and leak this. You never know when leak may be bad in the future, so I kind of like getting that done and then putting the hurt on this forest and see if we can cut our opponent off of green. So we are flooding a little bit here, so we'll be cycling this farmland next turn most likely, unless we're spending our mana on something else. Ooh, nice. So we've choked our opponent on mana and as well stopped them from having any green mana, so we're happy about that. Could draw another Spreading Seas, I guess. Would I even really want to cast it? No, I'd rather cast the thing twice. So I guess we're just passing. And we'll lead on Think Twice, and then very likely cycle this farmland. Alright, opponent has had enough. We're going to hit Serum Vision's Island. Geist of St. Traff. Well, that would have helped close the game out quickly, at least, so. Alright. Well, I guess Land Destruction Plan did its job there. Counter spells get worse on the draw, but I mean, you know, our deck gets worse on the draw. Most people get worse on the draw, but it can be tough on this matchup, especially because we need our leaks to be good. But I think we're sticking with it nonetheless. There's not a lot of better options here, so off we go for game 3. There. Preview boxes shifted a little. Okay, this hand has both Mana Leak and Vendilion Click and a Serum Vision, so even though the color situation is a little awkward, I still like the hand, especially because Tectonic Edge can be quite good in this matchup as well. One of the big reasons to play Tectonic Edge over some number of Ghost Quarter is, in fact, this matchup, considering that Tectonic Edge actually takes them down a land, obviously being very, very relevant. We want the sheer quantity of lands they have to be affected, not just the color situation. So negate is questionable here. I think I'm going to bottom the negate and look for more action. We can hopefully control the game, the early game, with just this leak and click. The game might have been actually acceptable. So I could save the leak for some larger threat later and negate some ramp spell early. But yeah, maybe I should have topped the negate. The more I think about it, actually, that may have been a mistake. But it is too late now. I think if I did it again, I would keep that negate for the record. But for now, we are stuck like this. I will pretty much leak anything just in case we can catch our opponent off guard on the mana situation, especially because we also have this click. So we're in an interesting spot now where I could click my opponent at the end of their draw, or I could hope that they breach me and only have one Titan, and click the Titan away, forcing them to use their breach, which is pretty sweet. Alternatively, I could just tech edge them. The bad part about that, obviously, is that it takes me off of a land. I think I'm going to go for the click line. Yeah, I wish I had that negate. May just be getting breached here. Make sure we haven't yielded. Ooh, a Chameleon Colossus. Well, that doesn't really bother me so much. It's more for the shadow decks, I'm sure. Breach and a guide. Fairly certain I leave them with these. Maybe I'm supposed to take Breach. The problem with taking Breach is it just makes them more likely to find an actual threat. Same thing with I obviously don't care about the guide. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to just leave these. If they draw a Titan anyway, they're already in casting at range if I'm going to be pathing this, which kind of need to be. So yeah, I'm not going to put either of those on the bottom. So it looks like we're going to be using this turn on attacking and pathing. That's not very exciting. Gonna play the Tech Edge, but not use it. The reason that I'm playing these out, even though it's giving my opponent the information, I could draw another one and want to use a bunch of them in the same turn, so I'm gonna play it. In fact, I probably should have played the Tech Edge the turn that my opponent, or that I played Ghost Quarter. In case I drew exactly another Tech Edge, I would have been pretty happy to double Tech Edge. I mean, I'll take it if they're not gonna, yeah. Okay. Sure. I'll still path it. See if we can draw a Cryptic or something to make myself feel better. Nope. Get in with our click. Play Jace, Jace minus. Again, I can cut my opponent off of a mana with Tech Edge, but it doesn't really matter when they have the Simian Spirit Guide in hand, so we'll just keep digging for more relevant action here. Take the Spreading Seas, although it's not doing a lot for me quite yet. So my opponent has Breach, Spirit Guide, Mystery card. Oh man, that didn't last very long. Yep. I guess I could have left up Ghost Quarter, but I mean, I'm pretty dead anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Could have hit a Valakut, but looks like we're taking 1 million damage. Actually, wait, they grabbed 3 Valakuts. Yeah, it doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I miscounted on their mountains briefly. I thought they were only going to have 5 mountains, but they have 6 mountains, which is sufficient. So we're going to take a solid 18 plus another 6. So we're quite dead. I don't need to make my opponent click through all of that. Yeah, if I kept that negate, I guess that was the big mistake this match. If I kept that negate, I would be in a lot better spot. I could have negated the Farseek that I countered, and then ended up leaking this this through the Breach or Hardcast Titan, whichever my opponent went through. So that was my huge mistake this match. I think we would have been a huge favorite to win this match if I had not done that. So I guess that one will be haunting me for a little bit, but that's it for round number 2, and I will see you all in round number 3.